Hello, my friends. We are live once again. This is the Nick and CJ show. My brother CJ is having a little bit of technical issues. He should be back. I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's gonna cause him to not do the show today. I hope he'll be back here soon. I have a lot to talk about either way. I really hope my brother CJ here to join me today. But if you guys are watching, please like, please share. Let's get the stream started. We're gonna have a good show today. Obviously the first thing I want to talk about is like this mass hysteria and this information war that is going on right now. Uh, and my take on it, with the liberal class pushing for censorship against Joe Rogan. We live in a very fucked up time, especially in like I couldn't pick the crazier time to get into a political commentary because we have both sides that are losing their fucking shit. We have liberals who their goal and their plan is to censor, attack, deplatform anyone who challenges the corporate or state narrative in general. Like not even just over the vaccines and COVID. I seen MSNBC heads, liberal brains call for censorship for people who are like Russian sympathizers because they are criticizing Biden over his response in the Ukraine, which we're gonna talk about that here very soon. Yeah, I see Chad talking about the Ukraine Nazis. Welcome to the chat, everyone. CJ will be here with us very soon. He's just fixing some tech issues. Uh, yeah, thank you for the shout out, CBC voter. Yeah, we're gonna go through a lot. We got a lot of great stories today. Um, I just had to talk about the insane. I was talking about this with CJ earlier. I don't get it. I never understood it. I never. I don't get the need for people to call for censorship and deplatforming people because they have disagreements. Like to me, that's such an unbelievable sign of weakness. Like I'm very argumentative. People who watch my show, people who follow me on Twitter, I'm very confident in my beliefs to the point where I'm like, shit, if you got a problem with I support defund the police. I'm like, bro, I want to debate anyone on that. Like I debate Garland Nixon. My main thing is I can defend all my positions. I can defend and if I can't, and I've been in these positions many times. If I can't defend the position, I'm like, oh fuck, I need to re-examine this. I need to see where this person checkmated me intellectually, right? But the response that not people pretending that just the liberal class, I have no idea why they're the dominant power force right now. They have the ties with big tech, like Google, big tech. They do their bidding. Um, they pretty much control the government right now. But I haven't seen any other shows. This is why Black leftists. This is why we start our own network. No, why is no one talking about the conservatives that are banning critical race theory? And you guys understand there are Black authors that are being banned who are not even writing like scholarly like books on critical race theory. If they are a Black author and they'll write a story, and Blackness will be included in it, obviously because they're Black. So they are being lumped in with the critical race theory group. So it's very interesting. Like you guys see the situation that we are in at CJ as the principled leftists, the principled Marxists, which is the checkmate to every single political ideology in America. We make liberals look like fools because they are fools. We make conservatives like the hypocrites they are. They claim they for small government. They say they anti-authoritarian. That's what they say now, right? They were like, oh, because I don't want to follow mandates. I'm scared of a jab. That's it. That's it. That's all it is. Because it affects them. I don't want to take a shot, so I'm against mandates. Oh, what do you feel about the Patriot Act then? If you're anti-authoritarian, crickets. Well, if you're anti-free speech, I mean, if you're for free speech, if you're mad at Dr. Malone being censored, if you're mad at these people being censored, why are these people quiet about the Black authors that are being pulled? Because of critical race theory. Do you guys see how both sides do it? And I'm tired, and people are like, why don't you guys give enough respect to right-wing populists? Come like they're the same thing as the fucking progressives.
Yeah.
Like people are like, why don't we talk to right-wing populists? Why don't you give them credibility? The right-wing populists are the same thing the progressive does. The progressives like, oh, I'm anti-establishment, but at the end of the day, they are ideologically inconsistent, and we are here to expose them, even though they can say good things. When we challenge them on things, you see how their ideology fall apart, right? When you have right-wing populists who are, oh, we believe in freedom of speech, but we're already on the issue of critical race theory. I've seen a lot of these same people agree with it, right? But see, we got CJ back. Is everything working well for you, CJ?
Yeah, I guess it just took restarting everything. I was trying not to do that because I had so many things open. So, but yeah, now everything seems to be working fine. So yeah, back in effect. We're on the Joe Rogan story, or you're on.
Yeah, I was talking about the insane liberal push, because this has like been dominating the news, and it blows me
Yeah.
away that media critics and people who claim they are class conscious and they are serious about fighting the struggles of today. I constantly see them get pulled into these culture war distractions, and that become like their main dominant thing they focus on. Like, I see the same people who say they're gonna focus on pushing Biden left. They are doing nothing but tweet, make videos about
Mhm.
comedian podcasters, where you're looking at Joe Rogan, Jimmy Dore, that and they
I think
pretend
that
they never.
shows.
Go ahead.
I think that shows they don't have a real agenda to talk about.
Yeah,
Like they talk about, oh, I'm for this, I'm for that, but they hop from one ridiculous story to the next ridiculous story, to me, which is kind of telling on how the seriousness about the issues they claim to be for. Because there's plenty of space or time for them to tweet about several different things that's going on in the world. So that's how I see it. But this is what I to your point about these narratives that are put out. This is the tweet that I tweeted out today about the topic. This one right here. Um, and what I said was corporate media created another wedge issue with Joe Rogan, and everyone just eats up the corporate narrative like it's candy, plays right into the game of picking teams. America has no idea when they are being propagandized. And that last line is so true. And what I mean by uh, plays into picking teams, this goes to your point about leftists. Leftists believe that they are the way they think is not part of the duopoly because of the policies. What they also need to understand is how you interact with political discourse can also be duopoly like. And I think this example is an example of like you said, these people who claim, oh, I'm for these things, I'm for these things, but then when the Joe Rogan thing comes up, they hop on that story just like anybody who's propagandized, but they claim they're leftist. So I don't get how they pick and choose when they decide to be leftist. If you get my point.
I'm tired, and this is where the real frustration hit, guys. This is why we have to have our show. When we decide we want to make a show of black leftists, because there's shit that people are not talking about. You guys realize that Biden used the CARES Act. You know, the thing
Mm-hmm.
they said they're going to use to take care of local government, teachers, give people health care. It's supposed to be this amazing progressive package that the progressives voted for and they fell in line for. Do you guys know that Biden is using that money to fund the police more in the middle of a pandemic while he's not giving you health care? But meanwhile, people are melting down over Joe Rogan. They putting their line, they drawing the line in the sand over Joe Rogan. Like, people are they were like, I'm gonna cancel my Spotify because the Joe Rogan podcast is spreading misinformation. Me,
We
what?
have somebody here in the audience that's on that. I moved from Spotify to Amazon because I
To
won't be on a
Amazon?
platform.
Are you what? Wait, listen to what you just said. Hold up. You switched to hold up. You switched from Spotify and you went to Amazon? You mean the corporation that's exploiting workers and destroying the
Right.
what the
Because they're
fuck?
not hurting people. Because Amazon's
What?
not hurting people. It's such an unserious conversation,
There's no
and this
ethical
is the
consumption
reason.
under capitalism, by the way. But go
I
ahead,
know.
CJ.
And Quaker Socialist said something in the comments like she's been trying to avoid this story. Me too. But the reason we wanted to talk about it is because of the ridiculous political discourse around it. we're, you know what I mean? Like the ridiculousness of liberals around this, the hypocrisy of this. Go ahead.
I covered nothing for no reason. I'm telling you this right now, guys. Every story I cover, there's stories that you guys we can have fun with. There's stories we cry with. There's stories we laugh with. And I'll usually always get to the main part later in the segment. But there is a reason why we going over this story right now. We've been talking about the information war. Do you guys really think that this insane push to get Joe Rogan deplatformed, all these insane lies the media have told about him, and we're gonna go over that too? I just released a video a few weeks ago. A few Joe Rogan fans got mad at me, but it's pretty much us ripping him to shreds. I ripped him because he was a shit lib, right? Because that comment he said about Michelle Obama, and then the stream last week, I did a criticism that you guys never heard before. I criticized Rogan as a lefty martial artist and how he was complicit with his capitalist friends Dana White and Lorenzo Fertitta and ripping off fighters. Like, people never talk about this.
You mean right-wing martial artists? You said left-wing? Or you mean
yeah, I'm
right
a lefty martial artist. I'm a Marxist. I've been playing martial arts. I've been playing Muay Thai for like 10 to 15 years now, right? So I have watched Joe Rogan since the double digits. And I know who he is very, very well. Because anyone who's actually a martial artist, especially during the early days of Joe Rogan, he used to have martial artists on his show. It was literally the show. Like, before Joe Rogan blew up, before he got anywhere near popular in the double digits, I remember he brought Uriah Faber on. He had Chael Sonnen on. It was the first show that you get to talk to martial artists and you get to see what their training routine is like. Rogan did a good job bringing, like, he had Roman Deckers, a lot of great kickboxers on. He had great jiu-jitsu guys on, the Gracies on. So it was before it became a pop culture amazing machine that it is now. It was like the martial art hub. So I watched it from the day it was in the double digits. But over time, Rogan lost me, right? Now, I'm telling you guys this because Rogan should be the absolute least of your concerns. But I'm not one of the people, like, I'll get confused when I see people praise Rogan, to be honest. I'm not one of the people that honestly think he's that great. I think and I can tell you guys why. When I was watching him, I see him like be a hypocrite on a lot of things, right? And I see him, once again, as a leftist, I saw him side with his capitalist friends, his millionaire friends, Dana White, Lorenzo Fertitta. And if you guys don't know, the UFC fire pay has been a problem ever since the UFC's inception, especially when it blew up. The UFC is $1 billion industry, and out of the sport business, the UFC pays by far the lowest amount of its revenue to its athletes compared to other sports like NFL, boxing. Especially boxing blows it out of the water. You can have someone fight for the title on a boxing, not even on a big fight, and they will make millions. We had a heavyweight title fight. Well, with a fighter made 500 grand. I know that may sound like a lot to you guys, but you guys understand in boxing,
not compared to what they made. Compared to what they made, yeah.
Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder is making 10 to 20 million guaranteed. But Dana White and Fertittas, because they're extremely anti-UN, like the Fertittas had been their entire life, they were friends with Joe Rogan. So Joe Rogan kind of played interference. And the biggest thing that destroyed the UFC fighters paid the most was the Reebok deal. Because the Reebok deal was the first big sponsor that the UFC got. And they got all these nice uniforms. But because of that stole the ads that the fighters got, the sponsors that the fighters got, because they had to join under the Reebok deal.
I heard about that. Yeah.
And then they were paid pennies. So fighters hated it. But then Joe Rogan went on his podcast and he was pretending the Reebok deal was the best thing ever. He was like, man, the Reebok deal made this sport look way more professional. And I would see stuff out of him from that, like, dude, you playing interference for Dana, your boy. And I feel like he betrayed his friends because he had a lot of friends who was fighters. Like, there were a lot of friends that he would talk about, like, they're broke, they're struggling. So imagine Joe Rogan, the guy who had a massive, massive platform like he had, he could have made a giant difference in the battle of fighter pay. Andrew Yang, a guy who I rip all the time, he's actually good on this issue. He actually talked about fighter pay and calls out Dana in them on this. One of the few issues that he actually pretty decent on. I know that because I'm a martial artist.
Right.
But Joe Rogan sold out the fighters. Anyway, that's the leftist critique of Rogan. None of this fucking Neil meltdown, Neil Young, fucking, he's like, and all these celebrities pulling their music from Spotify because of Joe Rogan's insane for one, they don't watch his podcast. They don't watch it. And I'm gonna show you guys a video clip, and I'm gonna show you guys why they are primed to hate Joe Rogan like this. And then I know, CJ, you sent me the video. We're gonna go over Joe Rogan's response, and then we compare the CNN video we're gonna show you. I want to show you guys that first because I want you guys to see the black versus the white. Right? So you're gonna see how CNN paints Joe Rogan insane conspiracy theory. And then you're gonna see Joe Rogan talk about the issue. You wouldn't anyway. I'm kind of spoiling the story. I get to that but why?
Right, but I do want to say this. I do want to say this because American political discourse, or just discourse, American discourse in general, is about cancel culture in this sense that if you say one word in a sentence and they don't like, that means everything's bad. So I'm saying that to say this. We have critiques for Joe Rogan. When Joe Rogan does something good, we'll say something. That's called being intellectually consistent. That's called being unbiased.
Yeah, we roasted Rogan and we did
exactly.
So and then but the thing is, Nick, praising him because you roasted Gupta. But go ahead, CJ.
But I was saying, but the thing is, because we have this duopoly sort of way of thinking, Nick, when we say something good, you're a homer for Joe Rogan. When you say something bad, I'm just calling it how I see it. Like, I don't have any preference either way. I'm just saying what I see. But people are so engaged, so conditioned to, if they hear one good thing, you're on the other side. You're anti-vaxxer if you're a man. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm actually for the vaccination. My mom, like a bunch of people, everybody I know has a vaccination. I'm just against the mandate. So, but that's my only point. But go ahead with your the CNN video. I think you said you were gonna.
Yes, I want to show you guys this. To show you, this is my mindset, and this is where the frustration kicks in, because I explain to you guys all the time on our streams the state of Black America, like in the state of the prison industrial complex. ICE detention centers are worse than ever. We're funding multiple genocides. The homelessness crisis is getting worse. Workers are making less. Like, things are really fucked up. But you got these liberals and the blue checks, and you got the celebrities that are pulling anything for Spotify over Joe Rogan. So why aren't they frustrated at this? You guys know I love Ryan Knight. Ryan Knight's great person. So check this out. Biden, I'm not saying this as an endorsement of the lesser two evils. I reject that as an ideology. I'm just saying statistically. I'm not saying Trump is better. I am saying that if you look at the numbers, Biden is a better Trump than Trump. Take that where you will. If you think that means he's worse than Trump, then good. If you think that means he's better than Trump, then good. I'm just telling you what you guys think Trump is. What you think he is? The worst interpretation of Trump. Biden took that. He was like, I'm gonna show you how this shit's done. So Biden promised to end oil drilling. Instead, he approved 3,557 permits, outpacing Trump. Biden promised to cut incarceration in half. Instead, there are 5,000 more inmates than under Trump. Biden promised to reform the police. Instead, he's spending more money on the police and military because of the CARES Act that we cover on our show, with progressives supported. He's taking the money from the CARES Act and funneling that money into the police. Where is the outrage? I told you guys, I'm covering this for a reason. It's a case study. Look around you. Look at the meltdown about Joe Rogan. Where is that meltdown over the shit that we talk about on this show?
Right.
That says everything. Where's the
meltdown about the evictions? More people getting evicted, people homeless. Like, why aren't they doing this about that? Why aren't they pulling music because these companies are supporting that? Why aren't they doing that? And another thing I want to say, there is a backstory to this, that a lot of this music, or at least I know a couple of the artists, their catalog was actually sold to corporations. This actually has money behind it. Why this is now coming up behind it? It always has a money connection, Nick. So I dived into a little bit deeper into the story. There is a little bit more to it. Not saying that on the surface is not completely true, but it's not necessarily Neil Young necessarily. It's the people or the investment group that owns his catalog. And that's what these Spotifys are doing. Because the pattern that people listen to music, they listen to the same stuff. over and over. Just think about what you listen to. So they're buying up catalogs of music of existing artists, like older artists, and just putting them on there because that people are just coming back listening to the same thing. They don't necessarily have to put up new music. And that's what's going on. All these investment groups are buying up catalogs of music. They bought up a bunch. I forget who. Blackstone is one of them. Yes. Yes. So this person knows the story. Blackstone owns the group or is part of the group or something that does some of this, or they did it before. But yes, so you know part of the story. So it's, you know, and what do these people want? They want people to take the vaccination. Remember, it goes back to that. So it kind of leads, it kind of is connected.
It's
kind of connected. Yeah, it's kind of connected. So just wanted to add that little tidbit in there. It looks like somebody in the comments have read some of the same story or information that I saw.
Yeah. So as I explained before, I cover everything for a reason here, right? Because I want to take every opportunity I can to prod and shift the Overton window to the left. So all the people who believe, and I actually seen people who call themselves leftists and progressives who fall for the Joe Rogan side, Jimmy Dore derangement syndrome, because they're like, oh my God, we gotta hold these people accountable. Like, instead of having these fucking performative protests over a podcaster, a comedian podcaster, why not for this? Because the idea is, oh my God, we must do everything we can to stop Joe Rogan. Because now let me show some grace to the opposing side I don't agree with, right? So their argument is we got to do everything we can because Joe Rogan and these comedian podcasters are getting people killed. That's what they say. If you truly believe that you are a warrior saving lives because you're pushing censorship in the narrative from the State Department, I'm gonna explain that here very soon. Why aren't you just as furious? And I mean in the streets for this. Medicare for All would have prevented hundreds of thousands of COVID deaths. And then look at the date. Do you guys have a more up-to-date article? I just Googled this real quick.
What date is that?
This is March 2021. I'm asked to chat. If you guys have a more updated article, let me know because I just Googled this real quick. But this is as of 10 months ago, hundreds of thousands. God knows what the number is now.
The number is probably higher now.
So it's like around 40%.
Because there's more deaths this year. Just think about that. There's more deaths this year. I don't know how that's possible. How do you have more deaths with the vaccination? That's just so weird.
33% of the virus deaths are associated with uninsurance. And I want to explain a concept to you guys. I want you guys to understand that this is an underestimate. What do you mean, Nick? What do you mean this is an underestimate? So let's take this time, slow down, and think about the issue here. COVID-19 is more likely to hospitalize and kill who?
People of
a sickly population. A population that has what's the term they use? Comorbidities, whatever. Like if you have
multiple
if you
illnesses,
have previous health issues, you are more likely to be hospitalized and die because of COVID-19, right? So what country is going to have the worst case of COVID deaths? And the United States has been the worst developed country in the world. As far as I know, let me guys know what you think. But as far as I know, I think the U.S. and Brazil have been the two worst countries as far as the COVID response, right? In terms of deaths and cases.
Yes.
Why you
but
guys
I think deaths is a USA. I think the deaths is USA. But yes, as far as the response, total response, Brazil's up there with the USA.
Yeah. Yep. So because people in the United States, as I explained, because this is what killed my grandparents. When people in this country are not able to go to the doctor because people are not able to take care of themselves because they're stressed under capitalism, working 50 to 60 hours a week. They're not able to work out. You got Big Pharma and the FDA lying about people's health. That's a whole nother show I gotta do. You got people eating junk and shit. You got the FDA that used to press bullshit about how like bread and sugar is good for you, right?
Yep.
So we are a sickly people. We are a sickly people because we don't have health care, guys.
Right.
Like imagine if you were able to go to the doctor, you be able to have preventive health care and once again, as I've learned about this kind of stuff and what health experts tell people, if you really want to be healthy and live a long life, you gotta catch shit before it happens. Like there's not really much they can do after you they can just numb the pain at that point. So the point is, if you have a robust healthcare system, you have a society that's healthy because they see in the doctors and they catching their comorbidities before they happen. Right. Why you guys think life expectancy is going up in other countries but going down here, right? That's the reason why. So that's why I said this number is a low number, because as it is right now in this country, 1 out of 3 people died because we didn't have Medicare for all because they had comorbidities. But how many more of these people would have been healthy if it was if they had health care and they could have took care of the freedom? So I'm not saying that's a significant number, but once you really grasp the problem and understand that the reason why people died in the first place because they're sickly, and the reson why we're sickly in the first place
because we don't have healthcare system.
Go back. But anyway, Steve, y'all ran enough. You got any thoughts?
No, but that's what our media, our corporate media, is running interference on.
Yes.
So running interference on putting the microscope on the problem, which is our terrible Medicare, our terrible medical or healthcare system. Instead, what do? They'll go, the unvaccinated are overcrowding the hospitals. How are we overcrowding hospitals at 130,000 people in hospital beds, and there's over 300 million of us, Nick? Does that make sense? That we're hitting capacity at 100 and let's just say 150,000.
You know who they don't blame?
Go ahead.
Who? No, I was asking hypothetically. Look about who they're not blaming. Because these people are hospital beds. Bro, they cut hospital beds in 2018.
Exactly. They cut hospital beds. I mean, who thinks that 150,000 hospital beds is enough for a population of 325 million people or more and more? Like who thinks that's okay? Like that means that we literally, and then on the top of that, I'm skipping. On top of that, all of our PPEs were manufactured somewhere else. All the tests were manufactured somewhere else. Like we're completely unprepared for a pandemic. We're completely unprepared for any sort of thing that can make the capitalists lose money. Any sort of thing. Let's cut hospital beds because they look at it as profit. They look at it as a business. And medical coverage, healthcare, should not be looked at as a business because you're looking to cut cost at a business. Whereas healthcare should have overflow, have extra ventilators, have extra beds, not just enough for people we think are going to get sick. You get what I'm saying, Nick? Pass it back to you.
Yeah, what the establishment has done in this pandemic was masterful. What do you mean? They didn't do a good job taking care of COVID. They don't give a fuck about that. To be clear. So what I'm talking about, they have done an amazing job in creating wealth for the ruling class, the trillionaires that the trillions that the billionaire class has made. And they also did a great job in expanding state power. I explained how they expanded the police state using the CARES Act. They call it the CARES Act. And they funded it to the police state. And what is the best way to get people to ease their civil rights concern on the populace historically? How did this work? Sorry, I very apologize to invoke Godwin law here. I can't think of, for lack of a better example on top of my head, but how did the Germans do it, right? They demonized the other. You find the other to demonize. That's what our ruling class did with the unvaxxed. That's what they did to these people. Now, to the point where people are saying they shouldn't have hospital beds. We went from people advocating for Medicare for all. We went from advocating for healthcare to everyone. Now you guys went from that to saying, oh, they shouldn't have medical beds. Do you guys see how creating the other is an amazing propaganda tool?
Mass psychosis formation. Because just think about the coverage of it, Nick. It's every freaking day. All 45 minutes of the hour show is COVID. Is look at the hospital beds. This person over here died. Put him on the screen. Look, I wish I would have got the vaccination. All of this over and over and over, 8 hours a day, month after month. This is how you get masses of people to all believe in something. Yeah, put the unvaccinated over there. Yeah, do this. All in the hunt to get everybody vaccinated, to actually get more money. That's what this is all about, in my opinion.
So Neil Young can blame Joe Rogan instead of Joe Biden. Right. Now you guys see why I want to talk about this, because you guys see the psyop that's happening in real time. And I have watching this over the last few months. If I wasn't affected by this, I would be amazed. Like if you're a historian, like looking at This psyop was amazingly well done. Because you got people advocating for shit. 48% of Democratic voters advocate fining or imprison people because they question the vaccine. How do you reach the opinion of fining and imprisoning people? Because they're the other. Right. Fuck them. They're the reason why this pandemic is bad. They're the reason why my grandma died. They're the reason why my cousin died. Do you understand
they're Americans? They're Americans. They're humans. How about that? But forget Americans. They're humans. But again, Nick, you can get people. America is so good at propaganda. America's the Hollywood of propaganda. Who's the best at doing Hollywood, making movies? Who's the best? Hollywood's the best. Making something that seem real. They can make Avatar completely, made up world. They can do stuff like that. Okay, so their propaganda game is just relentless because they have so many actors involved. They have so many people willing to buy in, and they have Hollywood willing to tell the stories. So, to have this heroic story come out, we're going to go over some of the war propaganda, the ridiculousness that was like in some of the things. But Nick, I'm curious to see the CNN
yeah. Thank you for
video that you were going to show. I'm curious to see this so we can play the Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I'm gonna prepare that one, but I want to show you guys this because it's wrapped up my last point.
Absolutely.
Because I saw Max Blumenthal. You guys know, friend of the show. Yeah. He nailed it. This is exactly what I've been saying for weeks, but he put it probably perfectly. The manufacturer Spotify freakout is not really about Joe Rogan. I'll tell you, this is why we're covering this. It's about ensuring that the technocrats tied to industry and elite foundations and their media shills dominate public health discourse.
Mm-hmm.
The same way that think tank militarists and neocons control foreign policy debate. So what happened during Russiagate? Do you guys remember? They said, "Oh, if you are repeating Russiagate propaganda or Putin propaganda, you should be censored." They took down pages because of this. So they use it to justify giant police states. If you was against the Iraq war, they said, "Oh, you should be censored because you are anti-American." So they do this. So as an anti-imperialist, I immediately recognized what they was doing. They're trying to create the Overton window. The Overton window is only what we say. Even though we've been wrong many times, if you step outside that lines, we're going to create the other in order to justify censoring you. But I'm going to pass it to you, CJ, and I'm going to go to
but that's a great point, and I want to piggyback off that point. And the reason they do that is because in a free country, or theoretically in a free country, in order for you to get people to suspend the idea of freedom, the concept of freedom, the concept of rights, is you have to scare them. And then they'll go, okay, the Patriot Act. Then they'll go, okay, something else. I can't think of another example. But yes, I just wanted to say that part. It's like, this is how you get people to suspend what they normally would not suspend. This is how you get people to buy into war. Like right now, if you look at polls, people aren't for this war. I think it's somewhere around 30% who support it. So that means 70% either does not or don't have an opinion. But if they keep propagandizing people, that's going to move to 50% in 2 months. This is what they do. The polls, to me, Nick, and I'm going to pass it back to you after this, the polls aren't really to gauge what people think. The polls is to gauge if the propaganda is working. That's what polls are for, to gauge whether their propaganda is working on you. And you seeing a poll and seeing a high number also makes you go, well, maybe I should be with that high number too. You get what I'm saying? It's also to convince you of something. And this is why they if you deep dive in the poll, you'll be like, why did they describe it like that? Why didn't you tell me, it's oversampling Democrats? Why didn't you tell me it's oversampling people over 65? All of these things matter. Why didn't you tell me everybody polled was in Texas? You polled Medicare for all in Texas. Why didn't you tell me that? You get what I'm saying? Like, there's a whole lot of things that go into polling. I know I'm going off into a tangent, but let's bring it back to the Joe Rogan.
No,
if you like Nick.
So we're gonna because this is the very important part I want to get to on this. I'm gonna get to the right wing here very soon because I'm not gonna let them off the hook. I told you guys I'm here to point out inconsistencies. There are people that keep letting them off the hook. We're gonna get to them later. Let's talk about the shit libs. Because I am going crazy being part of the political discourse, witnessing political discourse, where these intellectual cowards, because that's what partisans are. And I know we got people who are somewhat right wing who watch the audience, but when I look at the populist right, kind of deeply unserious. At the end of the day, I see a lot of inconsistencies there, and we're gonna cover them. One of the censoring critical race theory authors as an example of that. So how do they? And we explained how they created the other earlier. How do they justify people supporting censoring Joe Rogan? How do you get Neil Young to make this stand, which I don't really think he give a fuck about, but people following him because they think Joe Rogan is this other. And I explained earlier, even though I was hard on Rogan, I roasted him a little bit, but I watched Rogan since the double digits as a lefty martial artist. So I know who Rogan is. I remember watching people melt down when Rogan endorsed Bernie. I'm like, what? I always knew who Rogan was. And you also hear me roast him. But the image that some people have when they talk about Joe Rogan, they act like he's destroying the fucking country. They act like he's some sort of crazy far right winger that want to push conspiracy theories. So watch this. This is what the corporate news is telling people who Joe Rogan is.
Yes, and just so the audience knows, we always know our thing is going to be demonetized because telling you the story and using the information we have is more important than so we're going to be using these clips. We know we're going to get demonetized. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's why you guys gotta support the Patreon, because I gave up on YouTube monetization a long time ago, to be honest. But anyway, watch this video, and I want you guys to understand how they build the other, and this is why they justify censoring, going after Joe Rogan. Because as a guy who has strong criticism of Rogan, which is why I shared them before I did this segment, so you guys know I am not a Rogan fan by no stretch of the imagination. I show you guys the left criticism of him. And honestly, I think he's more dishonest than people give credit for, based on how he market. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. Watch this video. And this is how they paint Joe Rogan. Let me fix the audio here.
A very warm welcome to the program, and we begin today with Spotify as the streaming giants reveal plans to tackle COVID misinformation on its podcasts. The move comes after Joni Mitchell and Neil Young removed their music from Spotify in protest at its collaboration with the American presenter Joe Rogan. Mark Nobel has the latest.
Following a chorus of disapproval from a number of musical stars, Spotify has sought to clarify its stance on COVID misinformation on its platform. The online streaming giant is now publishing its platform rules for the first time. Users will get a content advisory when podcast episodes contain COVID-19 discussions, and listeners will be directed to an updated COVID-19 hub to combat misinformation. Row erupted after a podcast hosted by Joe Rogan, one of Spotify's star signings.
He had Dr. Robert Malone, who was strongly anti-vax and especially anti-vax for children. Now, I think a lot of people are maybe on the fence about vaccinating their kids. I think a lot more people are thinking maybe they won't do that over adults getting the vaccine. So when this came out, a few hundred health experts, scientists wrote to Spotify saying this is very dangerous.
I mean, just a bunch of lies. The 200 physicians she's talking about they were doctors of English, doctor of literature. They signed that. They weren't physicians. I saw that story on CNN when they first reported it. Come to find out, most of them weren't physicians. They were like PhDs in something else. So misleading how they do that. Like, that's just terrible, Nick. Go ahead.
And they're like, oh my god, they're like super anti-vax. How they use that word? That's the new word. That's the new word to signify people. It's okay to take away their rights here now. It's okay.
Just like terrorists. Just like the word terrorist was used. People don't understand. It keeps happening. Go ahead, Nick.
Yes. Oh, sorry. I'm glad you pulled this up, because before you play this video, now watch the response from Rogan. And I've been very critical of Rogan, but I watched this video, and I don't know how anyone can watch this video and not be like, okay, at least he's doing the right thing here, right? He addressing the criticism, and he would do something. He did something here that no one in CNN or Fox News would ever do. Like when they called out for their lies, when they lie about war, do they ever make a video addressing that talking about how they're gonna do better.
Right.
Imagine, like, cause they lied about war, they lied about everything. Imagine it was like, listen to Rogan here. Imagine it was like, we will have more anti-war experts on next time. We trying to do better next time. I know we was wrong. That would never happen. But anyway, continue the video, CJ, and then we break down.
Okay. Here's the contrast here.
I think there's a lot of people that have a distorted perception of what I do, maybe based on sound bites or based on headlines of articles that are disparaging. The podcast has been accused of spreading dangerous misinformation, specifically about 2 episodes, a little bit about some other ones, but specifically about 2. One with Dr. Peter McCullough and one with Dr. Robert Malone. Dr. Peter McCullough is a cardiologist, and he is the most published physician in his field in history.
Did they say
Dr.
that?
Robert Malone owns 9 patents on
CJ.
the creation of mRNA
Oh, my bad. Hold
vaccine
on.
technology, and is at least partially responsible for the creation of the technology.
That's
I'll
actually perfect.
rerun.
That's actually perfect time to pause it, because I don't know these people that well. But when I watched the video, like, why didn't CNN say that? You see the qualifier that Joe Rogan said? They paint them as just some fringe anti-vaxxers instead of part of the scientific community. It's propaganda. But sorry, go ahead, play the video, CJ.
No. So yeah, now I have it on. I'm gonna pause it because there are some parts I just have to just make a comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, I'll pause it. Just let me know where.
Yeah, just play it again, because listen to the qualifications that wrote. I don't know these people that well, but when CNN talk about these people, they never bring this up. They never bring it up. But go ahead, you can play the video.
There's a lot of people that have a distorted perception of what I do, maybe based on sound bites or based on headlines of articles that are disparaging. The podcast has been accused of spreading dangerous misinformation, specifically about 2 episodes, a little bit about some other ones, but specifically about 2. One,
I have to say this comment here. The concept of 2 people discussing a topic being labeled misinformation. Think about that. They're not going out advocating, everybody go do this. He's bringing doctors on, asking questions, and they're having a conversation. Having a conversation now is misinformation. I think that's ridiculous. So let's continue.
One with Dr. Peter McCullough and one with Dr. Robert Malone. Dr. Peter McCullough is a cardiologist, and he is the most published physician in his field in history.
Notice how they didn't mention that.
In history, the most published physician. But they describe him as, not him in particular, but the way media describe these doctors like this, these 2 particular doctors, like they're crackpots, like they're just nuts. Nothing about their credentials.
Yeah, if you want to make an argument that, like, I'm so sorry, like, I'm like some average guy, so I shouldn't be fucking posting this misinformation or whatever. But scientists are allowed to have debate within their community, and CNN knows that people who understand science knows this, so they can't call him Dr. Robert Malone. They can't talk about their credentials, because it doesn't not. I don't even know that much about their work, but the fact that I know their credentials, like Robert Malone, like was like one of the inventors of the vaccine technologies, like that mean they are part of the scientific community. That mean they are part of the scientific debate that goes on, but they want to censor that. How do people not think that is crazy? You don't have to like these people.
That is crazy.
Acknowledge that.
That is
There's
crazy.
scientists that are in order for a theory to happen, in order for a theory to become a law, you gotta have it tested over and over again. Like, in order, when you have a research paper, you gotta have it tested by science over and over again. This is the scientific process. The scientific process to debate. You may be losing that debate. Like, Robert Malone could be getting his ass kicked in that debate. I don't know. Like, maybe there are a lot of doctors like, yo, this dude a fucking quack. But that debate must happen. Like, how are you gonna stop that debate from happening? If Robert Malone was this quack, the doctors will just intellectually dominate his ass.
Right.
Like, so
right. Instead, but if you say, hey, we can't even have anybody hear you, that makes me suspicious. You know what I mean? But I think I want to make a bigger point, and this is important. What we have to understand, Nick, when we're talking propaganda and the understanding of conditioning, what the oligarch, what the ruling class, what corporate media is doing, they're socializing us to the concept of people disagreeing with you as misinformation. They're making it normal. They're normalizing that process of somebody just disagreeing with you. Misinformation. You understand? Like, people don't even get, they're creating different layers of divide and conquer. They're creating different layers.
They're so good at this, CJ. God damn.
And people don't get it. Like, Jesus, they don't get it. It's like people really believe that these ideas and opinions are theirs, and it hasn't been fed to them. This is what you can do. Do this test. Turn off your TV. Don't listen to any corporate news of anything at all for a month. Then pick up a story, read it, write down your own opinion before you start reading corporate media's opinion, and you tell me if your opinion is the same as the corporate media opinion. The point is, people don't even understand when they hear these things over and over, they're being fed an opinion. When you're hearing vaccinated people are the problem, you're being told your opinion. Go ahead, Nate.
Now, I actually want to just chime in quickly because I want to. There was a study I read a long time ago. I quoted it a few times that backs up exactly what you just said. There was a study that showed that people who watch CNN and Fox News, they were actually less informed than people who don't watch the news. You guys hear about that famous study, right? And then when people first hear, they're like, "How is that possible? How is it possible for someone who don't watch anything? Like, even if it's bad, like if you don't watch anything, how can you be more informed than someone who watches it?" And I got an example I'll give you guys just to explain that concept. I explain this all the time. My brother is apolitical as hell, but he has great instincts. Like, he has instincts very similar to mine. He just don't read Marxism. He don't read a ton of history. He couldn't name you none of these politicians. He's not well read. He just don't trust the government. Like, bro, he got them instincts, right? So I remember the very first time he saw Pete Buttigieg when we were traveling, when we was canvassing for Berkeley. He didn't know who Pete Buttigieg was because, once again, he apolitical. So the first time he heard Pete Buttigieg speak at a debate, I started crying, laughing, because he was like, "Fuck this dude. This dude is a piece of shit." Dude, I can tell this dude is a piece of shit. He's lying, isn't he? Then I explained to him the background of Pete Buttigieg, and he was like, "I knew it. Yes. So you got to see the instinct that he had, because he doesn't watch CNN and Fox News. He would see someone like Pete Buttigieg, and he would immediately be like, "I know this dude is full of shit. I know it." But think about the CNN watching shit libs. These are the people who watch Pete Buttigieg and like, "Oh my God, Slay King." Right. Because CNN, like you said, primes them to think that he's a good candidate. Anyway, I'm gonna be quick on that point, but that explains.
No, that's a great point to illustrate how a person who's not engaged in politics can be more informed, because they're going off their instinct. They're not conditioned into a way. They're not conditioned into a way. But that is a great example. But let's pull back the video. Let's see if we can get through more. Yeah, let me pull this off here. This tag off. And, let's see if we can get through the rest of this video so we can move to the next story.
We can finish this video, do final thoughts, and then do super chats after that. Yeah, so we have a little quick plan.
Robert Malone owns 9 patents on the creation of mRNA vaccine technology and is at least partially responsible for the creation of the technology that led to mRNA vaccines. Both these people are very highly credentialed, very intelligent, very accomplished people, and they have an opinion that's different from the mainstream narrative. I wanted to hear what their opinion is. I had them on, and because of that, those episodes in particular, those episodes were labeled as being dangerous. They had dangerous misinformation in them. The problem I have with the term misinformation, especially today, is that many of the things that we thought of as misinformation just a short.
I love this point he makes here. So, I just wanted to say that. I love this point right here.
While ago are now accepted as fact. Like, for instance, 8 months ago, if you said, if you get vaccinated, you can still catch COVID and you can still spread COVID, you would be removed from social media. They would ban you from certain platforms. Now that's accepted as fact. If you said, I don't think cloth masks work, you would be banned from social media. Now that's openly and repeatedly stated on CNN. If you said, I think it's possible that COVID-19 came from a lab, you'd be banned from many social media platforms. Now that's on the cover of Newsweek. All of those theories that at one point in time were banned were openly discussed by those 2 men that I had on my podcast that have been accused of dangerous misinformation. I do not know if they're right. I don't know, because I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a person who sits down and talks to people and has conversations with them. Do I get things wrong? Absolutely, I get things wrong, but I try to correct them. Whenever I get something wrong, I try to correct it because I'm interested in telling the truth.
Yeah, I think that's all we needed to watch there. But again, this is not even to advocate for Joe Rogan. We're advocating for the concept, and we're being intellectually consistent because we're against any sort of censorship like this, and any sort of peer pressure, corporate pressure really is what's happening here. That's really what's happening here. This corporate pressure to try to get him to stop talking about, you know how insane it is, Nick, that we can't have conversations about what everybody's living through, which is the pandemic. People need to really understand what's happening with the concept of misinformation is that any opinion that is opposite of the establishment can be labeled misinformation, and you're silent. This is fascism.
Yes.
Do you understand what's happening here? Go ahead, Nick.
I'm honestly embarrassed that there's anyone who is left of center that is legitimately arguing for corporate and capitalist domination of the flow of information. That statement in a nutshell is why we did this segment. This Joe Rogan derangement syndrome is not by accident. This is their push to control the flow of information. And if you are a Marxist and you're advocating for this, how the fuck are we going to have a revolution if the corporations and the ruling class can control the flow of information? You are short-sighted as hell if you are a Marxist, anti-capitalist. I'm not talking to the general audience here. I'm talking to my brothers right now. If you're a leftist, which I have seen, who advocate for this shit, they say we got banned Joe Rogan because of misinformation. What do you think they're going to do when you start debunking the police state and pro-war propaganda? They are.
This is why it's hard for people to understand. This is why it's hard for people to understand, because what the ruling class does, which is so brilliant, is when they use a bad example to induce the public in giving up their rights. Right? This is what they did with the Patriot Act, 9/11. I mean, it's a whole story behind that, but I forget the point that I was making. I'll come back.
Just chime in when you get it. But
yeah, because I wanted to now make this point about 9/11. I was thinking of that, but go ahead.
Yeah, just interrupt me when you remember it. But this is why we cover this story, because they attacking this as information because they want to control the narrative. They want to control the flow of information. So when they lie about you about Venezuela, when they lie about the DPRK, when they lie about sanctions, when they lie over and over again, like about war, they're giving themselves the right to do that. But when you are wrong, it's disinformation and you must be pulled. Do you see how they were trying to control the narrative? Mm-hmm. Why would anyone who's anti-capitalist and anti-imperialist allow a neoliberal police state that is controlled by big tech to set?
I got the point back.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the point I was making was a point that you make, which is a point that you make about asset forfeiture. What is where 60% of Black wealth is stolen through forfeiture?
We're 60%.
Where in order, right? So it's like they made the law. Criminals shouldn't have things they got through criminality, but it's never applied that way. You get what I'm saying? So they're using Joe Rogan. Look, bad, he's killing people. That's not how they want to apply it. They're just using this so the public will be fine with it, fine with implementing misinformation, misinformation caps or restraints. For you to be fine with it, we have to use this terrible person or make this person out to be terrible, so you'll be okay with it. Because if they just came in and said, hey, we don't want you to talk bad about Joe Biden, you're going to be like, fuck that shit. But if we say, look what Joe Rogan is doing, what he's doing is killing people, and look, people are saying they're leaving Spotify, then you'll be like, yeah, we should have some kind of restraint on that. Yeah, I'll be willing to give up my right too. just so we can. That's what they want you to do. So then now, who's going to be the arbiter of what is misinformation? That's the question. Who's going to decide that? The government. You're not going to decide that. Right now, you're just agreeing with what the government is saying. So you think it's you, but this is the government deciding this. And they're going to decide when you decide to complain Republican, conservative about the next Democrat, they're going to decide, hey, this is misinformation, your opinion, shut up, squashed. The next Republican person that's in office, liberal person, when that person starts to, you start to speak against Donald Trump if he hits again, guess what they're going to say? Misinformation, squashed. You have to be able to look past the example they're giving you in what we're trying to say why you should be against this. Look past Joe Rogan. Understand the concept of why we shouldn't be doing this, why this shouldn't be happening, or why it's problematic at the very least. Pass it back to you, Nick.
Yeah, we'll say. I think I had to cut it off there. Actually, I do want to say this, right? Actually, let me find the link here. I'm not letting the conservatives off the hook. I prefaced the story earlier with this. Now we went after I gotta find the link. We talk about the liberals who are insane authoritarians, right? Now it's time to, if you're a conservative watching this and you was having a great time, like we're really ripping them lips. I know you guys are having a good time. It's your turn, because there's nothing that annoys me more than intellectual inconsistency. So the same people that say, these people are big fans of Dr. Malone. These people are big fans of Joe Rogan. These people are big fans of these right wingers who are against mandates. They finally found, after their entire life, they found an authoritarian topic that they're anti-authoritarian. They was quiet about the Patriot Act. These people don't give a fuck about the drug war, our rampages, police state. They don't give a fuck about none of that. All of a sudden, they say they're anti-authoritarianism and for freedom of speech because they are on the side of being anti-mandate as a right-winger. Now, I have made the argument multiple times of why I am anti-mandate as a leftist, because I believe that I have a policy that can take care of everyone. I don't trust the neoliberal police state to do so. And if you have good leftist policies like giving people housing, healthcare, a living wage, a thriving wage, you can help slow a spread, right? But if you're a right-wing populist and you're against mandates, but you're not for healthcare, now it seems like you're kind of for eugenics, right? See, you guys see that I am against mandates from the neoliberal police state, but as a Marxist, I believe we should do everything we can to take care of our community. So I show you that 1/3 of the COVID deaths will have been prevented with healthcare, Medicare for all. So when people say, "Oh my God, you're anti-mandate," that means you don't give a fuck about people. I'm like, no, I'm trying to give them healthcare, you dumbass.
Right.
Now, if you're a right winger and you're against mandates, you're against healthcare, you kind of look shady. I'm not gonna lie. You kind of look like you're pushing eugenics there, buddy. To be honest, because I believe that if you're sick and you're immune compromised, you should get the vaccine, and we should make your life easier. We should pay you, stay home, right? I believe in the universal basic income. So I use this opportunity to pitch leftism. So if you're a right winger, you're against mandates. Okay, you're against mandates. Then what? You should let sick people die without health care. You don't want to give them housing. You don't want to give them a $1,000 check per month to take care of. That doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, I'm prefacing the story too much. So the same right wingers who pretend they are for the people, they say, "Oh my God, we're for the people, because we against mandates. We are for freedom of speech." They're for freedom of speech. Meanwhile, these same people are silent about the Black authors that are being banned due to this super anti-critical race theory raids that are sweeping through the schools. And once again, if you're not for this as a right winger, you guys still are crickets. You guys are loud as fuck. Whenever some podcaster or some fucking person gets censored about COVID. And you guys understand, when you dive into these stories, a lot of these authors are not even like race theorists. Like, they're not even like academics. A lot of these authors are being censored. They are Black authors who have a story that is about Blackness. You know why they got a story that's about Blackness? Because they are Black. And if you're a Black author, you're more likely to write about stories about Blackness.
Right.
But they get shifted into the category of critical race theory. And Youngkin, the governor, I've seen right-wing populists and right-wingers praise all day. He has been on a anti-First Amendment, a war against free speech, banning critical race theory in his state. And once again, if you're a right winger who against mandates, if you're a right winger who against Dr. Malone being censored, your silence on this speaks volumes, and you are no different than the shit libs that we call out every day on this show. You're no different. You guys are the same. You guys use the same tactics that the liberals do. The liberals cannot debate against Joe Rogan on this issue. They can't debate against Jimmy Dore on this issue. So they want to get them censored. Right wingers, they cannot debate against critical race theory and the discussion about Marxism, because Marxism is a critique of capitalism. FYI, if you guys didn't know, that is literally what Marxism is, just a critique of capitalism. So conservatives ban the critique of capitalism, and they ban the critique of critically thinking about race and their role and how they got their generational wealth and how our generational wealth was siphoned. You guys understand critical race theory is a class analysis? It's a class analysis. And
they've been propagandized about that. They've been propagandized to think something, I guess. I don't know what they think.
I tell you, right-wing populists, they say, "Oh, we got to fight against critical race theory because people who talk about critical race theory, they are destroying class consciousness because you just bring up race all the time." No, critical race theory analyzes how the prison industrial complex, how capitalism siphoned the wealth of Black Americans, how Wall Street tanked Black wealth. When I talk about this stuff, you guys are on board. But when you call it critical race theory, you're like, "Oh my God, you guys are race hustling." No, we are talking about historic events that stole our wealth. So how can you say you're class conscious and you're against the discussion of wealth being siphoned against us? That is class warfare against our communities, and that is quite literally what critical race theory is. So how can you say you're class conscious when you're against that? Right? Once again, I told you I'm calling out right-wing populists because they are intellectually inconsistent.
But not only that, Nick, but not only that is no one's teaching critical race theory, but you're getting real huffy and puffy about it. That's telling me maybe you have a racist bone in your body because you're getting huffy and puffy about something that's not even happening. They're not teaching critical race theory. They're not attempting to teach critical race theory. It never did in grade school, in middle school, in high school. These are things that's happening in college, and they've taken it and use it like the Southern strategy to use it to weaponize it for white people. And white people don't even, maybe they do know this is happening or they don't even know what's happening, but this is the Southern strategy that's being used on you. And you have no idea it's being used, maybe. You think you're standing on a point, on logic, and you're not. You're standing on racism. That's what you're doing. But let's answer this tweet here, or this comment here. Man, I disagree. That asshole said vaccinations aren't safe. That's not factual. I don't think he should be censored, but he's wrong about that point. The thing is, let me say a couple of things about this comment. Lies are protected by the First Amendment. That's how you can watch commercials and Dr. Pepper can say you drink this drink and you're going to be flying on the plane with a good-looking girl. Because lies are protected by the First Amendment. So a person talking, so I'm saying that to say, even if it's a lie, I'm taking your argument. Let's say it's untrue and he knows it, so that makes it a lie. If it's untrue and he didn't know it, that doesn't make it a lie. But if it's untrue and he knows it's untrue when he says it, that makes it a lie. That's also protected by the First Amendment.
Yes, well said. What's up?
So I mean, that's just what it is.
Can I
the First Amendment is to protect unpopular speech. Unpopular speech. Go ahead, Nick.
What's that? You want to know the simple solution to this, Eric? Because I would love to talk to him about this because I am an anti-mandate leftist, and I'll be honest with you guys, there are a lot of people who are anti-mandate as well, and I see their like takes on vaccines. I'm like, I don't get it. I'll be honest, I don't get the fear. My position as an anti-mandate leftist is I don't trust this neoliberal police state and big pharma to mandate this vaccine on people when the vaccine already protects the populace, right? So the only thing I would say to him is that when you look at the numbers, it seems like vaccines prevent, or at least, well, I wouldn't say prevent, they at least slow down serious infections. So this is kind of this is propaganda that like the vaccine cult uses, right? So the vaccine cult, they will say, if you get the vaccine, you are 8 times more protected than people who are unvaxxed, and they are telling the truth. But even if you're unvaxxed, there's like a 1% chance of you going getting hospitalized if you get Omicron. So technically, if you get the vaccine, it's like 0.07% chance of you getting hospitalized with an infection. So since the chance of you being hospitalized with the vaccine is like 0.07%, you can say that 40 times more likely for you to go to the hospital when you're unvaxxed,
right?
Even though it's technically less than 1%.
So right, you always have to look at the raw number. That's
you gotta look at the real number. So, and then when you look at Dr. Malone, all you gotta do is bring up that fact, like, yo, just say, yo, it seems like the people who get the vaccine, they are protected once they get the vaccine.
It's a conversation.
So, you see, even if you guys disagree with me on my, you just bring it up to them. Like if I was talking to Malone, like it seems like once you get the vaccine, you're good, right? So why would you say it's not protected, right? So you just bring it up. Why do people want to censor him? That's a very simple thing. Like, so I don't agree with him on that take. And I see people saying in the comments like, "Oh, the vaccines are not safe." Once again, this is part of. I'll wait till the debate is over, because I see people on both sides of the debate. There are people who've been injured by the vaccine who should not be ignored. The liberal media, they're doing everything they can to ignore the people who are injured. And my position, once again, as a leftist, every single fucking person who was injured by the vaccine should get reparations, should get payment for Big Pharma. So why would you put a mandate on the vaccine when they are literally protected from lawsuits? You know that, CJ? Right. They literally put protection for Big Pharma against anyone who got injured from the vaccine. That alone, no mandates, period, after that. Period, amen. So that's my position. But at the same time, when I look at the numbers, it seems like once you get the vaccine, you get COVID, you're safe, right? So if you're safe after you get the vaccine, which I believe it seems like you are, why would you be pushing for mandates? So I don't understand Malone's position. So if you don't, I don't know. I mean, I got to think.
I do have an analogy about misinformation or lies, if you want to say. I don't understand, if he did come in there and was lying, why can't those who know the truth, you know the truth, so how does that hurt you? You know whatever he's saying is a lie. How does that hurt you? So let me give you an example. If I say the sun is red, you know it's not. So you just go about your day knowing that the sun is blue. Like, if he says anything that's incorrect about the vaccination, about the pandemic, you know it's not true. There you go. So you're fine. Now, for those who choose to believe that the sun is red, that's a right. It's called living in a free society. You know how many people believe in all types of different types of cults? Not speaking of political cults, but like other cults. You like it's so many. It's so many things online where people are lying, telling mistruths, capitalism, sales, telemarketing, always lying. There's so much stuff online of lying that if we were to take down and label everything misinformation that falls under that category, it wouldn't be anything, especially commercials. That's another thing.
God,
so we don't want to go on and on, but yeah.
I want to make one last point, and then
go ahead.
And then we can move on to the next story, because this is back to the whole critical race theory banning. For the people who say, and this is the point you was making earlier, they don't even teach critical race theory in schools. I was in public school. You guys know when I was in school, they told me that MLK was like a centrist. They was like Malcolm X is the bad guy. We talk about all the time on this show. If you think they teach the exact opposite of critical race theory in school, they literally apologize for the white colonizing state. Right. So when I see the right-wing populists make these arguments, it makes no sense. Our public education runs interference for the white supremacists, imperialist
right-wing populists.
So
yeah, I don't. These right-wing populists, like
CJ, we're gonna debunk this bullshit, because I've seen people, they're right-wing populists. I disagree with Chris Hedges on this. Chris Hedges acknowledges that they're a right-wing populist, and he said, there's no left-wing populism. But I'm like, bro, there's no right-wing populist. I'm not, as a Marxist, I'm not accepting this shit. As a black Marxist in America, I've been watching you motherfuckers. I gave you guys the benefit of the doubt when you guys started calling yourself that. But I watched you guys side with the police state. I watched you guys be hypocritical on things like free speech, on critical race theory. There's no such thing as right-wing populists. You cannot be a populist if you support the police state and the capitalist state that crushes workers. But CJ, any last thoughts before we move on to the
next topic? You just covered the point that I was gonna make. But here are a couple of super chats. I don't know if they're about this topic.
Let's do the next story.
So I have them under the starred stuff. If you want, you can look at them there. The chief economist chief economic export of California is literally non-reality. Yeah, he's talking about the movie when we were talking about Hollywood. So that's what that comment. Thank you, Andrew, for your super chat. This one here, free Mr. Wilson now. Thank you for your super chat, Steve. And is there another super chat? Did I already put this up? The establishment went full force to take away our liberties using COVID and vaccination mandates. We must resist.
Hey, don't worry. It's only the anti-vax though. You see how they create the other? And don't worry, only the anti-vax who they're gonna have their rights taken away. It's good though.
Right. That's it. Not you. You have the vaccination.
You're the good one. You're the good one.
Yeah. It's so bizarre that people aren't able to critically think like this. America's best propaganda. Man. Yeah. Like and that's what America. That's America's bread and butter, Nick. It's absolutely fear. Just think about things. Just think about things that we do, things that we sell, things that are become popular, and it's just based off of fear. I remember LifeLock. Protect your Social Security. There was no uptick, nothing. Social Security, they've made millions protecting your Social Security based off fear. Based off fear. You want to get the police state, some money? Put some black and brown people, show them breaking into some shit, show them looting.
Yep.
They've been doing that, and then say, oh, it's time to get some police money. That's what you do. It's all about fear because it's kind of interwoven into white American culture, fear. And it maybe has something to do with being connected to fear because you fucked over so many people. You get what I'm saying? It might have something to do with that, some sort of connection. You get what I'm saying? You came here, you massacred the indigenous people. You came here, you enslaved people. Like you don't think, like, come on, man. You have to internalize that. Just like it's traumatic for you to traumatize people. That's traumatizing for people to whip somebody, to go rape somebody. That, you know what I'm saying? That has to be sort of traumatizing. But anyway, I always get off on tangents, Nick, and you got to stop me. So
my bad.
Go ahead. No, put that one up, and I got the other one started.
I want to address this one for Quaker anarchists. I think this is an interesting case study because Quaker have been watching my content for a long time. There's a few of you guys who watch my old YouTube channel as well, and she said, "When did Nick change from saying libertarian socialist to Marxist?" I'd be interested to know that tale. So I'm gonna tell that tale, guys. So I remember. If you watch my old show, SocialistMMA, this is where I literally learned who CJ, Rome, JB, and all these people was. And I never understood people who cut the Overton window off to their left. If you do that, you're the same as liberals. I know social democrats who are like, I fucking hate tankies, fucking Marxist Leninist tankies. They like Voss's whole brand. Like they hate people to their left. If you do that, you're essentially the same thing as like a center left Warren liberal. Because that's what liberals do. They cut the Overton window to the left. They will debate a right winger, a MAGA person, but they will block and censor Marxists as quick as they can. So I remember I had a ton of communists on my show. And that was around the time when I used to call myself more of a democratic socialist, more libertarian socialist. And I'm going to preface this story with what I told you guys maybe a few weeks ago. I don't put too much stock into labels. I just think labels are interesting to talk about. Only because I'm a nerd. Like, that's it. I'm a nerd, so I like talking about ideas, but I don't put too much stock in the idea. So when I was trying to describe what my politics was, like before, like I read into Marxism, socialism, I was like, y'all just anti-war. I voted for Joe Stein in 2016, way before I was a socialist. Like, I didn't vote for the Green Party in 2016 because I was a socialist. I voted for them because I was anti-war. Then I eventually learned what socialism was, but I was like, and someone asked me at the time, because I had a lot of comedies on my show, and someone was shocked. They were like, oh, I didn't know Nick said he wasn't a communist. And someone asked me, they were like, I remember once, they were like, why don't you just say you're a communist? And I'm like, I don't want to be that person who just say I'm a communist, I'm a Marxist, just to virtue signal. I want to know what the fuck I'm talking about. And I remember I was like, I went before I call myself a Marxist-Leninist, before I call myself a communist, I want to read more about it. I want to read more about why I should do that. And that's my mindset on everything. Before I learned about, before I was comfortable calling myself a socialist, I read about socialism. So at the time, I was like, bro, I'm not communist, because I'm like, I want to read more about it. And that's what I did. You guys hear me talk about theory all the time on the show. So over the last like 2-3 years, I read more. I read about why there's a manifesto that the Black Panthers wrote explaining why they embraced Marxist-Leninism as an ideology. So I read that, and I still have a lot of my ideology back then, but I'm like, I shift and change, and I think it's more accurate to call myself a Marxist now. But as I said earlier, I don't put too much stock into label. I just think they're fun to talk about. So at the end of the day, I want to destroy U.S. imperialism. I want to destroy capitalism. I want to give my people health care. And I want to destroy the corporate oligarchy. Call that whatever you want. That's my position at the end of the day. But anyway, hopefully that kind of answered that question. Mostly because I kind of evolved. But we can get to the next story. Are there any other super chats?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Okay.
I can pull up no more super chats that I saw, unless you saw another one.
So like I said, I think that's a good way to start the story. Whether you want to call me a Marxist-Leninist, socialist, it's at the end of the day, what are your goals? My goal is to destroy U.S. imperialism. My goal is to destroy capitalism. So there's this giant debate among anarchist communists and Marxist-Leninists about, should you have a communist state with a strong central government or more of a less centralized government? This is what the anarcho-communists believe. My position is I like both of them. They have this intense war. I like both of them because we agree on the core issues right now. Once we destroy U.S. imperialism, once we take down capitalism, then we decide that shit, right? So my number one thing is being anti-imperialist. And there seemed to be people who forgot that despite the fact that we're in the middle of a pandemic, I want to show you guys this. And this is why you got to be critical of the U.S. military-industrial complex. So this is what Biden is doing. Despite the fact that we don't have health care, despite the fact that he let the child tax cut expire. So remember how Joe Biden lifted all the kids out of poverty, which we debunked on the show. And this is the other link I have. Look, a cruel joke. Families are missing. God damn, I hate this site. I hate this. Hold up.
Yeah, I hate when it
Families
does that too.
Are missing the child tax credit. What future does they have? Parents said Congress pulled the rug from under them, just as they begin to experience the benefits of the expanded child tax credit. So the Democratic Party supposedly lifted people out of poverty. We all know why that's ridiculous, because we debunked the poverty rates. And like, even because they said the average family got like $5,000-$6,000. If you take that and this is how you debunk it. According to the U.S. poverty rates, if you're a single mother with 2 kids, if you make $22,000 per year, you are out of poverty. So when they use that statistic, yeah, that single mother got like $5,000 extra, but she's making $27,000 a year now. Do you think a single mother with 2 kids making $27,000 per year is out of poverty? So the number was never true. But anyway, so they let that canceled in order to just do stuff like this. The Democratic leadership is sending another $500 million in weapons to Ukraine. Where is AOC fans are upset because I called her out for this? But it's like, why is AOC not doing what Cole Pink is doing? She said Joe Biden has his right to pursue a diplomatic response. But he's not. He's literally not. So instead of saying that and providing cover for him, bring up the fact that you guys are giving $500 million weapons deal to Ukraine while they are literally telling Joe Biden to calm the fuck down because there's no plans for Russia to invade. Like, the Ukraine leadership, they're saying the Biden administration in the U.S. is causing hysteria in order to justify this. More money to the Ukrainians. So, because we don't have any real elected leaders, we can only rely on us. We can only rely on the grassroots. So, luckily, we have people like Cole Pink in a very small anti-war coalition. And I want to get CJ's thoughts on that. I'll pass you here very soon. Here's the story. Anti-war coalition demands Biden prioritize. I don't like this headline. And when we go through this story, I'm gonna explain why. But the headline is not really good. The headline's not good. The activists, they're doing great stuff. The headline is trash. So they said it prioritized Build Back Better over the Ukraine conflict. And their argument is, Why does the president have a swift and severe response only when it comes to war in the military-industrial complex? But he can't have a swift response to people not having healthcare in the middle of the pandemic, people going homeless. We're gonna dive into the article. I'm gonna explain more, but before I do that, I want to give you a chance to give your first thoughts, CJ.
On the article, what I wanted to do was kind of speak to the part where you mentioned about AOC, because you mentioned what she said. So I want to take this opportunity to play this video so we can interject. We can talk fully about what you're referring to. That's kind of why I was stuttering, because I wanted to play this video. So yeah, I won't read what I said, but
yeah, it's good to play the video again just in case people didn't watch the first thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So go ahead, play the video.
Let me.
So as you guys watch this video, this is why I explain why my critique
is going on. There's a big real fight, a war, possibly.
Stop it. Go ahead. Now you can talk.
But I'll be quick here. But I told you guys, AOC is a failure of a leftist leader. So she's pretending that Joe Biden's been diplomatic in his response. Meanwhile, the Germans, you had the Ukrainian president, you have everyone saying like, "Bro, the United States is being unhinged." And after this video, I'm gonna show you guys some examples of this. So go ahead and watch the video, and then we're gonna do our response after that, and then we're gonna go through this article, because the article that we're about to read shows you kind of in a nutshell what AOC should be saying. Because people say, "Oh my God, you got so critical AOC. What can she do? Do what Cole Pink is doing right now." But go ahead, play the video, CJ.
So for those who pay attention to our title, we're mixing two of our topics together. AOC, is she okay with war, and also the BBB plan versus Ukraine conflict. That story, they're kind of connected, so we'll talk about both now. So this is the video, AOC talking about this. Let's play it.
Apart from all the domestic fights that are going on, there's a big, actual, real fight, a war possibly about to happen in Europe. How concerned are you about what's happening in Ukraine? How worried are you about a full-scale war involving the US? And do you think Biden has handled this crisis well so far? Badly? Okay. What's your grade?
Well, I'm quite concerned about some of the dynamics here. One of them, frankly, is that you have an entire military industrial complex outside of the U.S. military, but, part of this complex of contractors that frankly just left Afghanistan and are starved for revenue. And I'm very concerned about the urgency of this situation really becoming and materializing into a situation that could be exploited by for-profit military interests. Now, what is happening between Russia and Ukraine is of profound concern. And the Biden administration is well with.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised we got that far without you saying that. I was like, "Why is Nick not saying nothing?"
Bro, what you said made no fucking sense, man. But go ahead, CJ. I don't want to stop it too much.
Yeah, go ahead.
In their right to seek a diplomatic resolution to this issue, one that does not hurt the Ukrainian people, but allows them to exercise their right to self-determination and to continue to be
Stop it. So you realize that the United States government is selling arms to neo-Nazis.
Yes.
So I want AOC and progressives to think about this. So if the U.S. government is selling weapons to neo-Nazis, what do you guys think these weapons are doing? Do you think they got these weapons to hold up as decorations on their wall? Do you think they're doing weapons exhibits where they just see how fancy this gun look? They're buying weapons to use against the Ukrainian people. So the same people that AOC is saying, "Oh, we want to make sure they're self-determined." Okay, if you guys want them to be self-determined, why are you guys selling weapons that the fucking Nazis are going to use to kill them? That has nothing to do with self-determination. So we're not gonna finish that clip because we watched it in full. I think we've seen enough of that shit from AOC.
Yeah.
Like, she's a horrible leftist leader. Like, you can tell she has no idea about what the hell is happening. She said, "Yeah, this situation is urgent."
Yeah.
No, it's not. That is quite literally.
But the point I wanted to say, Nick, about that interview was that she's shielding for the Joe Biden administration.
Yes.
She doesn't even acknowledge the question. Give him a grade. What do you think? Do you think? Well, she tries to make it a broader critique on the military-industrial complex, which Joe Biden is over, right? Isn't he the commander-in-chief, right? So it's like she's doing this thing where she's talking around critiquing Joe Biden. Because if this is a Republican president doing this, she would be speaking about this like you and I speak. But because it's Joe Biden, well, I'm concerned that profiteering has happened. What do you mean? Like the war machine always does? Profiteering happens? Like it's so... That she may have completely crossed over to liberal.
Yeah, it's over.
She may. It's like, this is ridiculous. Like,
AOC fans would defend her because they don't understand the conflict either. I'm still reading about it as well, and they also not anti-imperialist. They legitimately believe that the U.S. presence there will be a greater influence. So you can tell AOC had no knowledge about the conflict at all, because she said, "Yeah, I believe because of the sense of urgency, which is there." Which is there. Let me show you guys. You guys know they had the UN Security Council today. I'm reading through this today. So the United States is making an argument on why they are pretty much sending weapons, on why we should be afraid of Russia invading Ukraine, which is not going to happen. Russians are losing their fucking mind right now. I read multiple stories of diplomats saying, the West is literally crazy. You're not going
this
to
is all manufactured. This is all manufactured. Yeah.
And ask yourself, why is AOC repeating that? So this is according to the UN Security Council meeting that's happened today. Maybe I'll have some clips to react to on Saturday. Because Caleb Maupin was talking about this as well. I'm gonna have him on Saturday. He said this UN Security Council meeting isn't going well for the US because no one is buying the phony invasion is imminent hysteria. So you have even people who are sympathetic to NATO or listen to this shit like, bro, you guys are fucking crazy. We're not starting World War III over a country that we are not interested in. Like we're not interested. This is crazy. And AOC is repeating this. She's saying that Biden has a right to pursue diplomacy because Russia is unhinged. Because Russia, no, it's not. And if you are repeating that, that is unbelievably telling. And you want to know? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I got one more video. I want you to react to because you guys want to know why we call out the boutique left? You guys think we call out the boutique left just because it's fun? I wish they wasn't shit. But when I see them be fucking neocons, why would I ignore them by call out the neoliberal neocons? Right? So watch this. So the argument that I just made, listen to Cenk Uygur explain this crisis in the Ukraine.
Oh, I was just about to pull that same video up. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is a perfect
perfect.
I think in this one. Damn, I lost it. What the hell is it? Hold up.
Is it the one in the DM or a different one? I don't know if you saw the one in the DM because I put one of Cenk.
Oh yeah, I found it. I tagged the link wrong, so that's why. Here it is. So check this out for Uygur. This is literally insane. Every time I watch this dude, I don't watch TYT a lot. I literally only see TYT through like clips I see on Twitter. And every time I see it, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable what they say and what they get away with while still having people who think they are somewhat progressive. It's insane. Watch this video and keep in mind everything we have said thus far.
Given the size of the massive violation of international law in this case, if they cross the border and actually try to take the country, obviously you freeze all Russian assets all across the world. I don't care who it is, every oligarch, anything related to Putin, seize. Now, again, there'll be some idiots not idiots, to be fair, they're grifters. And I don't know who they're working for, some portion of them, but they'll pretend that people pretending to be on the left, okay? And maybe a couple of people who actually are on the left and are, don't understand world politics at all, who are like, oh my God, freezing the assets of oligarchs. That's so warlike. Him taking Ukraine with 175,000 troops is not warlike, but freezing their assets is? Are you insane, right? So, and what about the people of Ukraine? Do they count? Are they human beings? As a progressive, do you care about them? Do you care about their freedom? Do you care about their rights, right? So now once you get beyond freezing the assets, that's when it gets impossible.
Right.
Because what are you going to do? Start a war with Russia? That's beyond a disaster. On the other hand, what are you going to do? Let them take one country after another, after another, after another? If you don't stop them in Ukraine, and I don't, again, other than freezing assets, I don't know how you stop them.
Right.
But if you don't stop them there, then this world is in a lot of trouble. Because I guarantee you, very soon after, China takes Taiwan. Because it's open season.
Yeah, you make a lot of good points.
They are playing.
You make a lot of good
liberal
points.
Audience. They're playing to a little. That was absolutely disgusting.
That was-
And let me just say, when he says, anytime a political person says they don't just understand, that's what they say when you disagree. Oh, you just don't there are some leftists. He was like, there's some leftists that may have this point, but they just don't understand foreign policy. No, I understand it, and I know what you're saying is bullshit. That's a better way of saying it. But yeah, go ahead.
What he's saying is worse. He's saying that if you're anti-war, you're a grifter. You're a grifter if you're anti-war. So this video is this is one of the most insane videos I've seen from Cenk Uygur. Because you see how he was simping for neo-Nazis? He was simping for neo-Nazis. What about Ukrainian people? Oh, you mean the ones that we arm neo-Nazis to hijack the country and overthrow the country like we have done? You mean that country? Yeah, but I'm literally, every single thing he said in that video was wrong. And he was like, oh, if we don't let this happen, China will take Taiwan. Taiwan is part of China. This motherfucker is the dumbest person I've ever seen. I cannot believe
Nick, do you think he's doing it on purpose, or you think he's just not informed? That's what I can't tell from him.
And I can't wait to talk to Caleb about this, but he 100% a pro-war asset. Because he was like, remember, he repeating the talking point from the Biden administration. I just shared with you how people are not buying this hysteria. But look at what he leaves the video. He leaves the video with, if Russia invades. He's repeating Anthony Blinken, State Department talking points, even though Russia has said multiple times we're not going to invade. So for one, that's literally the first 5 seconds of the video. Watch this. No, I'll play it again. But that's literally the first few seconds of the video. You're like, what if Russia invades Ukraine? Okay, you're already repeating State Department.
You're already repeating talking points. Yeah.
And also, listen what he said. You guys know how insane what he said is. He said if Russia sets foot in Ukraine, freeze all Russian financial assets. He said, I don't care who it is. So even if it affects ordinary Russian people, he wants to starve all Russians if Putin put ground troops in an area which is sympathetic to Russia. So you guys understand the reason why we army Nazis in Ukraine is because East Ukraine is sympathetic to Russia because they used to be part of the Soviet Union.
Right.
So you got Cenk Uygur literally spreading this fear-mongering, spreading this misinformation about this crisis that he 100% knows the details about. He is 100% playing a role. He's 100% playing a role.
What is this? You said, is this tied to what you're saying right here? This is the story. I was trying to find that article.
I'm glad he found it. See, this is what this company. He said, "What about the Ukrainian people? The Ukrainian people are telling you to fucking chill, U.S." You notice he didn't say that. They are telling you to chill, Cenk. He don't care. He's a fucking neocon.
Yeah.
Now this is the thing. He said, if Russia step one foot in the Ukraine, we gotta sanction the entire Russian people. That's what the United States has 800 military bases. How many military troops do we have in other countries? Do you guys understand if we took that same approach that Cenk Uygur did, we will all be sanctioned to death.
Right.
Because he's saying that if Russia invades another country, we should hold all their assets. We have done that throughout the entirety of the global South.
But they don't never mean us because we invade for good reasons. Because white people invade, because white countries invade for good reasons.
Yeah,
said the white supremacists.
That's Western chauvinism in a nutshell. So let's get to the article because I want to actually read details from it because that's what started this whole thing. Because now you guys see.
You want me to let you bring it up, or can you see it when I bring it up too? You can see it the same way. Because
I can do it. I can do it. It just make it easier. So now you guys saw the messaging that came out.
Sorry, let me take that off. Yeah, let me take that off.
You guys saw the messaging that came out. AOC and Cenk Uygur, the leaders of the boutique left. Right now, this is what you really should be doing in this moment right now. this is what Co-Pink has done. So let's read through it. I want to take our time because I love the first few paragraphs.
Yeah, I like this one. I like
The
this one.
anti-war group Co-Pink will lead a coalition in a public action in Washington, D.C. Monday morning to demand the Biden administration prioritize delivering much-needed support to working families and community across the U.S. instead of threatening military action and punishing sanctions against Russia amid the Ukraine conflict. So we are one paragraph in, and you guys notice what AOC did not say? Why didn't AOC say this? It's not hard. I am really not asking for that much. I promise you. This is all. I'm gonna like the whole article is good, but if she literally just said this first paragraph, it wouldn't have been as bad as it was. So this is what they said. I'm gonna explain why I don't like the headline. Cause look at the headline. It's an anti-war coalition demands Biden prioritize Build Back Better over Ukraine conflict. So it said the groups, the group Space in Action and Arm for Climate will gather in Black Lives Matter Plaza to demand Joe Biden use the power of office to pass healthcare, childcare, climate, and anti-poverty programs. So I don't know that much about
this happened today, by the way. This happened today, by the way.
Yeah, this happened today. This is not part of the Build Back Better program. So when I looked at what they were asking for, they asked for healthcare. So I don't know why when people keep saying they just asked for the Biden agenda. No, we are demanding Biden to use executive authority to give people health care. And that's the argument that they were making. They were saying, why do Biden have this swift and severe response when it comes to Ukraine, but you can't do the same on health care? Right?
Actually, I think
you're one of the people, sorry, CJ, but if you're one of the people who are saying that we need to push Biden to push Build Back Better, readjust your strategy. Why would you ask for the bare minimum? Like, the Build Back Better is the bare minimum. The Build Back Better is a betrayal of his campaign promise.
Absolutely.
Because he promised the public option. He promised a living wage. He promised climate action. None of those are in the Build Back Better plan. So why are you guys letting him off the hook? So if you're going to negotiate, you negotiate on the farthest left option you can get. So you ask for Medicare for all, and then hopefully you get the public option, which he promised. So even if you endorse the idea of asking for the Build Back Better agenda, that's horrible strategy. That's horrible strategy. And when I looked at activists, it seemed like they was asking for more. Let's watch the video and I'll pass it to you. It is worth watching. Because I was about to show this, but this shows how I don't think we had to watch it. But Bob Menendez, he's one of the most corrupt senators.
I was just about to say that's the worst person to put up is that guy.
I don't think we had to play the video. I always tell you guys that Amy Klobuchar is the second highest funded senator from police unions. Bob Menendez is number one. I got to fact check myself, but I think he's number one. Yeah, I got to fact check myself, but I'm pretty sure he's number one.
Corrupt as there can be.
I think he takes the most money out any any senator in this country. That's what he takes from. So you see, he's for all the wars too. He said there's a bipartisan resolve. I didn't even click that. There's a bipartisan resolve to sanction Russia over Ukraine. There's not bipartisan resolve to give us health care.
Never that.
Not bipartisan resolve to give us an increased minimum wage for economic warfare. Once again, my criticism, they are failures of leftist leaders. Now imagine if AOC was the leader of this. Why is AOC not in front of this? Has she tweeted about this? I'm legitimately asking. I'm not accusing her of not doing it. I don't follow her through. Did she tweet about this Co-Pink thing? If she didn't, why not?
I haven't checked her. I haven't seen it today. I don't follow her, but I haven't seen it today.
I checked live. I don't want to be one of the people.
I'm sure I would have seen it in the feed or somebody would have retweeted. There's still a few AOC stands in my DMs, so there's still a few. But I want to kind of talk about the part where you said, Nick, where you said people aren't believing the US about this. They're trying to sell this. People aren't believing it. So let me take the opportunity to play this clip. It kind of talks about people not believing because they do mention that in here while you're looking for that. And then also look at the war propaganda. This is another topic we're going to talk about. Since they're kind of meshed together, we'll introduce it here. Listen to the war propaganda in this sketch. I won't play all of it, maybe 3 minutes of it or something like this.
Yeah, I think
if you hear anything, just tell me to stop it.
Yeah,
if you hear anything, just tell me to stop it.
I love that you show this, man. Let's watch the video because I want you guys to know SNL it's propaganda. Anyone who watches it, your brain must be mush. But anyway, let's play the video.
Mr. President, the situation in Ukraine is growing tenser by the hour. Putin has amassed over 100,000 troops at the border.
We're even getting
at his border
that Russia has already invaded.
Hey, pause it real quick. CJ, pause it real quick.
Retired.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
this is gonna be
Take
hard
it
to
with a
get
grain of
to.
salt.
Hold on, I gotta scroll down real quick because this is YouTube. It's a little bit different. Okay, now I got it.
Yeah. So
his border.
When I watched this video, it literally took only how long did that take? 5 seconds until then when they start talking. 5 seconds in, and we immediately hit with propaganda. The Russians amass troops among their own border. Oh my God. Putin, he's a mess. We got literally kids in concentration camps at our border. Kids in concentration camps.
Yeah.
But Putin has people, he had military personnel at his border after the United States armed neo-Nazi Russian separatists. But that's supposed to be something that we're supposed to be shocked and appalled about.
Right.
So I'm sorry I had to stop it, but I had to let you guys know we are 5 seconds in when they actually start the sketch. It is immediately propaganda.
And it's a button. It's a bunch more. It's a bunch more. I'll wait for that next one that comes on.
I'm not gonna keep stopping it. I'm just gonna stop it one time. But I'm telling you, I can do this every line in this sketch is I would say well written because it is. Every line has a reason.
Right.
Like,
it's a belief in the war machine. It's a belief in the war machine, and it's restating, regurgitating the same CIA talking points about war. So yeah, let's listen. I gotta be honest, I probably stop it at least 2 more times because there is 2 parts specifically I want to speak about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Putin has amassed over 100,000 troops at the border.
We're even getting some reports that Russia has already invaded, but those are from the same people who said Tom Brady retired. So take it with a grain of salt.
You know, what about the NATO forces? Are they ready to back us up?
Well, every country is sending supplies to Ukraine except Germany. They're staying out of it.
Oh, man. Germany doesn't want to go to war. You know it's bad.
Sir, if I may, Russia's military...
Why are they pretending
when the United States want to...
Why are they pretending Germany is the pro-war state? You see the propaganda?
Yes. If Germany doesn't want to do it, we know it's bad.
Bro, we are the bar you compare war criminals with. How you gonna be American like, oh my God, it's other countries? That's so crazy.
It's funny.
Every sentence is propaganda, but I try to
military presence may be the least of our problems.
We've been tracking the spread of Russian disinformation in Ukraine, and there are some lies Ukrainians don't know what to believe anymore.
They've been tracking the Russian misinformation in Ukraine. Have they been tracking the U.S. misinformation in Ukraine? Like, it's so absurd.
Russia tried that during our last election, too, but it didn't work.
Well, 40% of Americans think you lost the election, so it kind of did.
Nick, did you catch that one?
Did
you catch that one, though? Did you catch that one? That they threw in the Russia propaganda. They're Russia propaganda didn't work. They tried that last time. It didn't work. Oh, yes, it is. 40%. What is that, Nick?
They are still Russiagating. It's 2022. It's 2022, and they are still Russiagating. So I told you, every line.
Come on.
In order for time, I'm not doing it, but I promise you, I can dissect every single fucking line they wrote. Just so far and tell you why they're saying it, the purpose it serves. Well, so that's a hint of Russiagate. By the way, Russiagate true, guys. Russiagate true on top of the Ukraine gate.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is horrific.
Take a look at these posts that are circulating on Ukrainian Facebook.
Ukrainian
border encroaching on Russian troops.
Russian forces surrounding Ukraine just to give it big hug.
You see how they're making it seem like they don't have a good reason, and
they're mocking us.
Right, they're mocking it. See, these are the reasons they're there. Not that it's just their border. These are the reasons. See, to give it a big hug. Propaganda.
They're Ukrainian. They're doing this. Hold on. I think I can switch it. Hold on. I found I messed it up. Yeah, but remember this tweet? It said talking about how the Security Council. So the United States is selling the idea that Russia is crazy, right? That Russia is gonna do something. But in this SNL skit, And I want you to rewind it for a few seconds. When they show those headlines, it's designed to mock the idea of the people who think that the invasion is imminent. So
Right.
I want to go back to your screen. I'll put it back on.
I'm gonna go back to right before the headlines there, and then
and you see they're mocking the idea of the people who saying you see. No, go to the next.
You want me to play it? You want me to play it? Yeah, I'll play it. Okay.
You play for a few seconds until they go to the next one.
Russian forces surrounding Ukraine just to give it big hug.
You see what they did there? They're mocking the idea that the people are saying that Russians are not going to invade Ukraine. Because then they're like, oh, the Russian forces are just there to give Ukraine a hug. They are implying that the people who are saying that Putin's not going to invade are crazy. But guys, they use comedy to push imperialism right in front of your faces.
Nick, this is exactly what I want to do on the propaganda report.
That's gonna be good.
So obviously you're gonna be on there much of the, but this is exactly just played it and just go look. This is show people how to deconstruct is what I say. Propaganda. And you would think that, and people think that propaganda only comes from news. It doesn't. It comes from movies mostly, or a lot. It comes from movies, from television, from radio, a lot. So let's play a little more, and then we'll go off of this.
Ukrainian president horny for drama, wants war, slap me harder, daddy.
I'm going to break my New Year's resolution and say, malarkey.
They're also bringing our country into it. American CDC strongly recommends Russia invade Ukraine.
Wait, did the CDC really recommend that?
For a few months in 2020, the science was changing so bad.
There's also this. Neil Young to remove music from Spotify unless Ukraine surrenders.
Bro, I'm literally getting chilled because this is so funny. Like this is so funny. My skin is boiling, bro.
Yeah,
like,
but you see how much they're able to wrap up in one, 5-6 minute sketch. Look, I mean, it's almost every line just propaganda. Every line, CIA talking point. Every line is just corporate talking point.
Like,
so, all right, so let's go from that.
Yeah, it's like everything they say has a reason. Like it presented in the forms of jokes because that's how propaganda works. But every single fucking line they said they're said for a reason. Like the punchlines are meant to mock the people who question the main narrative. Every punchline there was there to question people who put back against the state and the Democrat Party. Man, that's insane. That's insane.
And then that cold pink thing, maybe I should look on Twitter and see if I can find some footage or something of them. I think it happened this morning. Maybe they have.
I have one more thing I can share, and then we can
go ahead.
read some chats. And then I think we may have Zoya coming in for like last 15
minutes.
Yeah, for sure. But I want to share this because I want to show you guys how the propaganda works. Because we just saw the horrific propaganda at SNL. We saw how AOC is pretty much repeating U.S. imperialism, Biden talking points. So how do they get to this point, right? What is I want to show you guys the messaging that is coming from the Biden administration. Check this out. And I was explaining to you the propaganda because they openly say this shit. They openly will say this shit, and people don't acknowledge the propaganda. Check it. So we explained before in the stream how Russia has said over and over again, multiple times, we are not invading Ukraine. We are not invading Ukraine. The United States is creating hysteria in order to fund their military budgets more. That's what this is about. So, in order to justify this $500 million of military aid that they're sending to the Ukraine, they will sell it on that premise that Russia is going to invade Ukraine. So now that narrative is falling apart, what are they doing now to justify the $500 million that they're sending to Ukraine? They are doing this. This is incredible, guys. So I'm not going to play the video. Actually, it's only 1 minute. But this is what they said. This is tweeted from the, let's see, what's their official title? Proudly serving Biden and Blinken under the Secretary of State for Political Affairs. That's her position, right? So this is the message coming from the Biden administration. The United States and our NATO allies and partners are unified in our resolve to impose swift and severe cost if Moscow rejects our offer of dialogue.
What?
You guys see how they move the goal? You see how they pull the goalpost? They move the goalpost back. At first, they said we're going to sanction Moscow and Putin because they're going to invade Ukraine. But now that their narrative fell apart, and now it's clear that Russia is not going to invade, they moved the goalpost to something that is insane. You know what they just said? They said pretty much unless that Putin and his Ukrainian sympathizers bend to their will. That is what they mean when they say that. Let me pull it back up. When they say, let's see. There will be severe costs if Moscow rejects our offer for dialogue. What is their dialogue? What they've been pushing recently. So instead of putting sanctions because the Russians invaded Ukraine, since that narrative fell apart, now they're going with, Putin is rejecting our neoliberal world establishment where we want Ukraine to join the EU. Because of that, we're going to sanction them. You guys see how they're moving the goalposts? This is crazy.
And liberals will go with that goalpost movement and be like, "Oh, that's fine."
AOC is going.
That's all they'll do.
AOC is going with it. Once again, this is not hard to debunk. They're literally admitting, they were saying the quiet part out loud here, that they're gonna go for sanctions. They're gonna send that military aid to Ukraine no matter what happens. No matter what happens. That is so crazy. That's essentially what they're saying. They said under no conditions will we not sanction the Russians. That's essentially what they're saying there. It's insanity.
Yeah, and I mean, what are we not talking about? What is mainstream media not talking about? Or actually, the same answer to that question is the answer to this question. What were they talking about right before this? How terrible the Joe Biden administration was doing and all the bad poll numbers. Then magically overnight, Russia, who was already at that border, now it becomes a threat. They remember reset time. Remember over the weekend. And they came out and hit all the talk shows. It's time to reset. Literally a few days later, now this started happening. Reset. What do presidents do to save their approval rating? What is he trying to do? There's a midterm coming up. Do you think a war, the possibility of war happening, do you think they just do that on a whim during an election year? Yeah, you know what people do? I'll pass it to you after this. You know what Americans do when a president is going to war? They unite against him. So when a president has a bad approval rating, he's really losing in every single aspect, like every aspect from the pandemic to the Build Back Better, to everything, to, unity of the country. He's losing everywhere. Wrong direction, 72%, like inflation. So he's losing. How do you unify them? With a conflict with a foreign power that'll unify us. Look at them. Look at those bad people, and the good white man on a horse is going to come in and save the Ukraine, right? From the bad Russians who infiltrated our thing and got us Trump. They're all tied, all these narratives, right? So yeah, Nick, go ahead.
I think that's a good point. Do you have anything else on the Ukraine? I think
I don't have any more on the actually, no, I said that point already. I wrote something down. I don't have any more on the Ukraine. Does anybody? I can just kind of skim through the comments, see if anybody had anything.
Zoe said she had 15 minutes, but I might just invite her on Saturday. I haven't heard from her yet.
NATO divided is a good thing. That is absolutely. Why do we still have NATO, Nick? Like, why do we still have NATO?
Serve the neoliberal global order. I mean, NATO. There's no way.
There she goes. There she goes. Right there. NATO did what now? Yeah, there she goes.
Yeah, NATO is literally responsible for the global poverty and insane amount of war crimes. So everyone who's elected should be against that. So I think that's a good way to wrap the segment. Though we got Zoya here. You guys saw her on Saturday. One of my favorite a powerful leftist activist. She taught me a lot. Helped co-founded 10 Demands with us. We're gonna I have our last segment here to talk about what's going on. So in California, so Zoya, thank you for joining us today.
Hello. So originally I was going to talk about CalCare because we were supposed to get a floor vote today, but the assembly member decided to pull the floor vote, and his excuse was that they didn't have enough votes. So he basically gave political cover to the people that were going to be no votes on this single payer universal.
They didn't vote on it?
They didn't. They pulled it.
Wow.
Some corporate person, some corporate
I didn't know
lobbyist
that.
got to somebody. Some corporate lobbyist must have gotten to somebody.
Because I remember someone telling me the reason why this is a big deal because the activist was saying that anyone who votes no, any Democrats who vote no on this, the California Democratic Party was going to pull their support of them. That was the message, and then there was all the healthcare activists was going to come out against him. That's why this was supposed to be a big deal because this is supposed to be the real-time version of forced to vote if it went through. If there was a force on healthcare, now we can see it in action. So we're supposed to have all the California Democrats put their vote on the line. So Zoya, what are you saying? They pretty much just said, hell nah. They had to defeat it.
Yeah, literally, we watched for 4 hours, waiting and waiting, and last minute they're like, we pulled the floor vote, which means it can't go up for a vote this year at all.
So now you guys know how powerful the force to vote strategy is now, right? Because why do you think they just pulling this shit because it's not powerful? Like having someone on record not allowed to bullshit anymore about supporting healthcare,
right?
And now you got activists that can organize and hit people. That's giant. That's why they don't want.
They can't hide behind the pharmaceutical lobbyists no more. You can't hide behind it. But get out here and show your vote. Show us whether or not the pharmaceutical lobby, the money they gave you, is affecting your vote, and if it does, you're gone.
And then I saw people who criticize force to vote. They'll say, well, even if you do force to vote, then people will lie about it. Okay, they will lie about the support. They'll vote yes. Okay, if we get healthcare, I don't care if you actually support it deep down inside.
Right.
Only thing I care about is your yes vote. And then they say, okay, well, they'll coordinate their votes. So some people vote yes, then they'll have people who vote no, so it doesn't pass, but so they'll hurt their reputation. So their response to that, my response to that is, okay, that's a great thing. That's a concession for the neoliberals. So if you have to pretend that you support healthcare in order to not get hurt your election chances, that's you literally conceding to us that you have to support healthcare in order to win the election. How is that not useful for us narrative-wise? Because they always say you got to run as a centrist to win. So then when they say that, I would say, okay, why do people sign on Medicare for All then? So you see how it's a win-win? If you lie about supporting Medicare for All and it passes, okay, I don't care if you really supported it. If you lie about it and it doesn't pass it and you're using it just to steal their career, okay, we will use that as a way to beat the neoliberals' head over. I'm like, okay, so you got people who are pretending to support healthcare for their election chances. Doesn't that prove the fact that you have to run on Medicare for All? It's literally a win-win. But Zoe, you got anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I got a couple of things lined up. I dropped a link in the chat that covers this story about them pulling the vote. But I wanted to say, because I'm always looking at the next thing, because we can't afford to give up. So Red Berets are working on a lot of things to combat this. There are ballot initiatives right now in over a dozen states, either in the works already being fought for, like in New York and in Maine. You guys can follow Red Berets at Red Berets to see what they're up to. I have also, I sent you a picture, Nick. It's of their podcast. Right now they're at 45 views, but they discuss everything that you can do in order to help pass ballot initiatives in your state on local levels, on state levels, and what's happening and how they're organizing in the streets and protests. And they talk about fighting on all fronts. So you guys can tune into their podcast. You see Bree, Ryan, the Vanguard, a lot of people, Pat the Burner, are on board with them and supporting them. They're activists that have been around for a long time. So if people want to contribute to that or be a part of that, definitely follow the Red Berets. The other story, I'm not sure if you guys saw this or not, but this goes in line with what you were talking about earlier. As far as Ukraine, I'm not sure if you guys saw, but the Democrats are pushing through more funding for military to send to Ukraine.
Yeah, is that the $500 military aid? I think we covered it a little bit, but yeah, that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing instead of getting things like healthcare. Now, I want to share this. I think this is the link that you sent me. So I want to highlight something for the people who think the Democratic Party is the lesser two evils. Remember how we gotta protect the nurses. Nurses are the essential workers. They're the heroes of this pandemic. The Democrats are fighting who during this? They're fighting the nurses. The nurses are outraged. So the Democratic Party that's supposed to be pro-nurses, they're probably pro-working class, they're directly fighting the nurses here.
And these are progressives. These are progressives. And not just Democrats, but supposedly progressives in California, the legislators.
Yeah. California is a neoliberal shithole. They all market themselves as progressives, but that's what we're here for. And people, we gotta gatekeep. My folks like, why y'all gatekeeping? Because my gate is not high. It's not a high gate. Just be anti-imperialist, be anti-capitalist, be pro-worker. It's that simple. But CJ, what you about to
say? They're progressives in the same way that AOC is a progressive. The same way they're progressives in California. Like come on, this is a no-brainer. Democrats want to win hand over fist here and get the best support in California. Pass this, but some corporate person got to somebody, or they've had them all along, and those people were going to be forced to vote no in front of everybody, and they couldn't have that, so they pulled the vote. It's pretty weak.
So Nick, I sent you another screenshot. This is something I just want to bring to people's attention, because while we're waiting for things to move through the electoral process and we keep seeing the same thing happen, I just want people to know they have real options. So in California, and this is an LA Times article, so it's not from a lefty source. California law is stronger than federal law. Basically, it says that you can apply for financial aid at hospitals, which they will never tell you. And I just wanted to let people know that I've signed up personally several people to CalCare. This is another good reason I keep my face off the podcast, but they will never follow up on your income. You can say your income is 0 and they will instantly emergency enroll you in CalCare. Everything will be paid for. And they will never follow up for it because it's a government agency full of bureaucracy. So they just never. I have friends that have been enrolled for years.
Wow.
So we got to hack the system, right? I just want to offer people solutions while we're facing these dead ends. So in California, I had a friend do it in New York. In a lot of these states, you just can say that you have no income, and either the hospital has federal funding to cover your medical expenses, or they will auto enroll you in state programs that will pay for everything.
Yeah, so I thought we talk about the problem that's going on in our capitalist system, the healthcare system, the prison industrial complex, but we also want to provide solutions. That's why we always try. I want to bring Zoya on as much as possible because it is important to talk about like real things you can do that can improve your life, right? So I'm glad that you had a chance to come flag that. Is there anything else that we should cover? We're about 2 hours in. Is there anything else important that you want to flag, Zoya? Anything else?
Yeah, there's always several, but I won't get into all of them. Just picking and choosing. You guys were talking about homeless people, so I just wanted to say that at least 7,877 people experiencing homelessness died in just 73 cities in 2020.
What?
7,877. In Los Angeles alone, it was 630 people in 2014. It was 1,383 people in 2020. And I don't have the 2021 numbers yet, and they're higher for sure. So on that note, 10% of the Pentagon budget would house everyone in the United States. 10%, less than 2 weeks of the military spending would house everyone. And 3% of the US military spending could end starvation on Earth.
So according to the experts, according to health experts, and I covered this on Saturday, we covered this on Saturday. If you literally change our carceral system, take the money from that, provide people health care, provide people housing, that's the pandemic response. So when there's also experts that were saying that you must provide homeless people with homes in the middle of a pandemic, because if you don't, homeless people will be more likely to spread the virus. So isn't it funny that Democrats claim they are pro-science and the Republicans are anti-science, but they don't listen to science when it comes to public safety advocates saying that we should defund the police for public health reasons? They don't listen to public health experts when they say we must end the homelessness crisis for public health reasons. That we got to implement Medicare for all to save at least 1/3 of the people who died in the pandemic. The Democrats not doing that is showing that they are anti-science. So stop repeating the partisan propaganda by pretending only Republicans are anti-science. They both are.
Yeah, lobbyists have been writing the laws for years in this country. Anybody can look it up. It's a fact. Lobbyists are writing legislation for both parties. I just sent you another screenshot of a nice breakdown of what the United States military budget for 2022. I prepped.
We gave Zoe like 15 minutes. She's like, I'm gonna come with some facts.
So that's what our military budget could be allocated for.
So let's analyze it. Can y'all see it well? I know the Zoom is hard to see. I can't zoom in more than that. It said the United States military budget for 2022 is projected to be $768 billion. Isn't the homelessness number like 30 billion? Isn't that how much it costs to save or fix or whatever? So what does $768 billion look like? That's universal free childcare and pre-K. That's only $150 billion a year. 12 weeks national paid family medical leave. That's only $55 billion a year. So home for all guarantee, $150 billion a year. So I guess I had to adjust my number. So I guess it's $150 billion a year. Have dental, hearing, and vision to Medicare. So that's $36 billion. That's not much at all. Only $80 billion for free public universities, $15 billion for publicly owned broadband.
And just to be clear, Nick, your number isn't wrong. It's $76 billion to house the current homeless population. It's $150 billion to guarantee homes for all. And another fun fact to keep in perspective is the CDC budget is 1.5% of the Pentagon budget.
Jesus. So this is why I actually made this point as well because I'm trying to drag as many white people to the left as possible. So there are some white leftists who think we are breaking class solidarity by asking for reparations. But if you're against reparations, it's actually you breaking class consciousness. Because think about what's the argument against it? That we can't afford it? Is that your argument? Do you guys see the numbers there? Considering the debt is owed, the generational wealth that was stolen from our people. If your argument that we shouldn't advocate for reparations because we can't afford it, how is that not a liberal argument? Our community, indigenous people, the working class are owed everything by our state. Everything. So that chart that we've seen right there, that explains exactly why I demand solidarity on this. Because I stand solidarity with all the issues. I stand solidarity with Latinos on ICE. I stand in solidarity with my Muslim brothers and sisters in U.S. imperialism. I stand with all my brothers and sisters on healthcare. I stand with the white working class on increasing wages in the opioid pandemic. So when we ask for reparations, that's asking you guys to stand in solidarity with us because our state can afford it. The only argument against it is arguing that our state can't afford it, and that's ridiculous. So anyway, that's kind of stuff I think about when I see those numbers. Like, why do you guys cut the Overton window off at your left? Like, bro, we can afford everything. So when you guys stop asking for a Medicare for all, that shit doesn't make sense. But anyway, what do you guys think? Wrap up soon.
No, I was just gonna say the same thing. We're gonna be wrapping up in a few minutes, so I think let's let Zoya speak if she had anything final words before.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
last thing, and this is going to take me like 2 minutes. So, hundreds of water protectors are currently facing criminal charges in Minnesota for standing in defense of the water, climate, and treaty rights. These individuals put their bodies on the line to stop Line 3. One of our friends was one of those people. And cops responded to this massive movement with surveillance, harassment, physical torture, and trumped up charges, including felonies. So Biden's Patriot Act is being used to charge some of these protesters as domestic terrorists. The definition of domestic terrorism is broad enough to encompass activities of protesters. So some charges are going from 2 years to 8 years. And I dropped a link in the chat, which is very thorough. It gives you direct action you can take, petitions you can sign, protests you can attend, politicians you can contact, a lot of things that you can do. I dropped that link in our private chat. And that's action that'll help those protesters hopefully secure their freedoms or help them get funding. Just a very helpful resource to help those people out.
Thank you for that, Zoya. You are always welcome to come and provide solutions. I'll tell you, Zoya taught me a lot, especially during the time we was co-founding Tender Man. So you're always welcome here. Any last thoughts, CJ? I think we can wrap now. I got nothing else. Any last words, CJ? You're muted.
Not on this topic, but just what do we got tomorrow? Is it no more international left on Tuesday, right?
I think we do got an episode tomorrow because we got something planned. I got to talk to Josana.
Okay.
I think we're gonna actually let me announce this now because I think we've been working on this for a while because my schedule been weird. But we're actually gonna kind of have 2 international leftist shows. We're gonna have like a Tuesday show that is kind of ran by Josana, and I would be there for support. And then we're gonna have Thursday, which is kind of like the old school international leftist, where when it first started with me, Kareem, and Peter. Josana also be joining, so it'll be 2 different kind of a panel. So that's when we're gonna start. I gotta make sure we got one planned for tomorrow. I think we do, but if not, so I may jump on live either way because Tuesday I'm gonna do a show. Either way, so we're gonna have a show tomorrow. So
okay, so tomorrow that's what I was just gonna shout out the schedule. So tomorrow we have either the international leftist or Nick will hop on. Wednesday, we got Straight Out of Politics, and then later in the evening we're premiering a new show. I'll drop the name of the show later, but that's the day. This Wednesday, Nick, is our discussion. If you're able to join our discussion with Dr. Kareem, Professor Anthony Zankas, and we have a new doctor that's going to be joining us. I won't announce his name here, but he specializes in racialized politics. So he will be on that panel, and Nick and I will be speaking to him. That will be Wednesday evening around this time. I gotta get the time. I believe it's 7 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday. So I believe that's what that's going to be. So 2 shows on Wednesday. Thursday we got the roundtable and possibly another international leftist coalition show. Friday is our Sabby show. Saturday is the Nick show. Do you have a name for that, or just your Saturday show?
It like technically will be the Deeply Unserious show. It was like I never do titles. That's why I did my old show. I like never.
Yeah.
Really, I don't like name my show. It seems too gimmicky, but that's just me.
Okay.
I'm not making a statement. I'm not making a statement. I'm just saying.
For sure.
I usually just like I just be like, I'll just title the video what I'm gonna talk about. That's usually what I do, but
for sure.
Maybe it's better.
So then Saturday Nick will be on, and then Sunday we're rounding it out with the JB show, and then Nick and I will be back here again next Monday. So make sure you're tuning in for new content. We're chopping up some of these videos, like the General Strike Summit. I want to chop up some more content and get those out to you. Get some of these episodes chopped up and get those out to you also. So thank you to everybody watching. Rockfin, thank you everybody watching on Twitter. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for all of the super chats. I think I covered everything. Nick, did you have anything else before we sign off?
If you guys support the stream, like, because when we do these 2-hour streams, it's a guarantee we're gonna get demonetized. Like you guys saw everything we talked. You saw everything we talked about, and you saw everything we shared. And I remember we talked about this when they pulled us for George Carlin. I'm like,
Yeah.
bro, I'd rather do good content than care about monetization. So I don't want to ruin the content thinking like, oh, I don't want to do this because it may get demonetized. I don't want to play this video because there's a lot of people that made it. I don't even care about making those calculations. I'd rather do good content and allow us to demonetize and hope that you guys support us via community like Patreon. So the point is, don't care about YouTube. I hope that you guys support us on Patreon. If you do want to show support, so please do that or support directly on Cashapp. That's the best way to support us in our channel and allow us to do free content without giving a fuck. Eventually, they're gonna pull us from YouTube for some shit, and then we're gonna go have to go on Rofkin, and then fucking Rumble. So we can't rely on YouTube. So that's why I asked you guys to try to find other ways to support us if you guys want to do that. But all the content is free no matter what. Either way, thank you guys for watching. I'll be back tomorrow. I still gotta make sure that our schedules with the guests tomorrow pans out, but we upload every day. So thank you guys for watching. This is Nick and CJ signing out. Take care, guys.
See.